Good evening, and welcome to tonight's town hall. Thank you for being here and for all of your questions and feedback that we have received. During our town hall meeting, you will receive a lot of information. Please know I will be sending an email out this evening with a link to the document of our detailed plan as well as our presentation. We will also create a Q&A form. Tonight's town hall is designed to answer questions that were submitted and clarify how we are moving forward. We have received over 1,000 questions from parents, students, and staff that we have organized into 5 categories. We ask that you not submit further questions until the category has been addressed. The 5 categories are health and safety, which will be presented by Mr. Niedermeyer, our Assistant Superintendent; education, presented by Mr. Geschke, the Director of Instruction and Innovation; special education will be presented by Ms. Newman, our Director of Student Services; technology and educational support will be presented by Mrs. Verhest, the Director of Technology; and operations, which will be presented by Ms. Armentrout, Director of Personnel. I will start with a few words, then close the town hall with some recent updates. First, how did we get to this point? As I mentioned at our board presentation, we started with our 4 fundamental beliefs. First, the safety of our students and staff is the top priority. The best educational experience happens in a face-to-face environment. Close and consistent communication with our local health department, and equity and access for all students. We then used our surveys from our staff, parents, and students. Then grade band subcommittees were created. These subcommittees consisted of over 50 participants, including parents, classified staff, teachers, principals, and administrators. They met multiple times over a period of 6 weeks to analyze and synthesize the survey results in order to make recommendations to the District Oversight Committee. The District Oversight Committee then took all of the feedback and recommendations while focusing on our 4 fundamental beliefs to formulate the draft plan. Our plan has 2 options: face-to-face with an online option that families may choose, or complete remote online learning. We will start with the plan that is safest for our students and staff. I also wanted to remind everyone that we have moved our student start date back for both of our opening options to Monday, September 14th. This will enable our district to provide training to our staff on our COVID protocols and instructional practices. The movement of our opening day will not impact our final day of the school year. That remains as Tuesday, June 15th. The most common questions are related to exposure and positive COVID cases in our schools and how we will react to these issues. If we have any issues with staff and students related to COVID, we will be working with the Medina County Health Department. They will notify the district immediately if any action needs to be taken. We will follow all requirements, and the Medina County Health Department will notify all individuals and families that are required to take precautionary measures. We also will have district procedures. Screening and mitigation is our first step. We will provide instructions to staff and families on how to perform self-checks. They include taking staff and students' temperatures and completing a daily checklist for other symptoms that will be taken at home before coming to school. If a student or staff member is exposed to COVID, assumed to be exposed to COVID, or COVID positive, the individuals must stay home. A student and staff member may return after the Medina County Health Department releases them from isolation or quarantine. Before I turn it over to Mr. Niedermeyer, our Assistant Superintendent, I need to remind everyone this is a constant changing situation, and portions of our documents will also likely change as we move closer to September 14th. Mr. Niedermeyer will now cover health and safety.
Good evening. Tonight I will be talking to you about health and safety. If you have any questions after my part of the presentation is complete, feel free to use the link at the bottom of the YouTube window to submit your question. I will try my best to answer as many questions as possible toward the end of this presentation. Like Mr. Mail mentioned, One of our 4 fundamental beliefs is that the safety of our students and staff is the top priority. We know that this virus will be impacting us for an indefinite period of time. While we are unable to eliminate risk, we will make every effort to mitigate risk with guidance from the Ohio Department of Health, the Ohio Department of Education, and the Medina County Board of Health by concentrating the following 5 areas: assessment for symptoms, wash and sanitize hands, thoroughly cleaning and sanitizing our school environment, practicing physical and social distancing, and implementing a face coverings policy. To vigilantly assess for symptoms, we are relying on parents and guardians to partner with us to conduct a daily health assessment of your child's health prior to sending them to the bus stop or driving them to school. In the event that a student is experiencing any of the following symptoms, they must remain home: a temperature exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit, fever or chills, cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, fatigue, muscle or body aches, headache, loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, nausea or vomiting or diarrhea. There are many questions and comments from parents questioning these symptoms and wanting to know how to tell the difference between common cold symptoms and COVID. As a parent, I get it. This is very challenging, but in the interest of everyone's safety, we have to be cautious and follow the guidelines from the CDC as closely as possible. When a student is ill and unable to come to school, schoolwork and assignments will be sent home via email or Google Classroom, as we've done in the past. Should a student become ill for an extended period of time or test positive for the coronavirus, a team composed of a building administrator, classroom teachers, and parents will make a decision in the best interest of the student on a case-by-case basis. In the event that a member of our staff, student body, or a community member's household is diagnosed with or has exposure to COVID-19, we are mandated to report to the Medina County Board of Health and will follow guidance from the Health Commissioner. Notification of positive COVID-19 cases will be communicated to those affected by the Health Department. We're going to take a look at our clinic procedures. Minor cuts and complaints will be encouraged to be dealt with in the classroom. All students coming to the clinic will be triaged for COVID symptoms prior to entering the physical clinic space. Students who are showing symptoms will be isolated to a separate area away from the clinic and other students. The isolation area will be disinfected immediately following the removal of the student exhibiting the COVID symptoms. Social distancing will be maintained in the clinic. Clinic doors will be kept open to minimize use of door handles and to ensure maximum airflow to the area. And there will be a designated clean area for medication dispensing. Strict COVID sick policies and procedures that align with CDC guidelines, as well as directives from the Medina County Health Department, will be followed for all students and staff. This will necessitate that families promptly pick up their students if they are demonstrating symptoms at school. It is critical that we have your updated emergency contact information through the Student Information Form process. We refer to that as SIF. You will receive more information about SIF in the near future. The next area that we have spent a lot of time focusing on is how can we implement a system where we can wash and sanitize hands to prevent spread. We're expecting teachers and administrators to collaborate to build routines of hand hygiene into the daily schedule for all students and staff, including hand washing and sanitization breaks during or between classroom activities. We will also teach and reinforce hand washing with soap and water for at least 20 seconds and or the safe use of hand sanitizer that contains at least 60% alcohol. We will closely supervise our students to make sure that if they have sensitivity or skin reactions to hand sanitizer, that we can assist them to use soap and water instead. Administrators and teachers will reinforce hand washing during key times, including but not limited to arrival and dismissal, before, during, and after eating food, after using the restroom, after blowing one's nose, coughing, or sneezing, or after touching objects with bare hands that have been handled by others. Administrators and teachers will use media, posters, and other tactics to promote health etiquette expectations in highly visible locations. Another area of focus is thoroughly cleaning and sanitizing our school environment to limit spread. We will be providing classrooms with EPA-approved cleaning and sanitizing supplies. We want to start to think differently about our new reality and the fact that as a school system, we focus on building lifelong learners, not only for academics, but for health practices as well. With that said, we will encourage and supervise students to wipe down their own desks and learning supplies as needed. Custodians will thoroughly disinfect every classroom each evening to include the use of electrostatic sprayers. Custodians and staff will increase the frequency of daytime cleaning of common touch surfaces, including handrails, door handles, all while using approved disinfectant. Custodians will increase the frequency of restroom checks to ensure hand soap and paper towels are available. Our business services leadership will be proactive to stock adequate inventory of cleaning supplies for every building. Our heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system environmental controls will be set to maximize outdoor air circulation. HVAC filters will be changed more frequently, and our district uses microbiological inhibitors on our filters. Our custodial staff will be fully trained to use new products and implement new procedures, all of which have been approved for mitigating the risk of coronavirus. In the event that a student or staff member is sick with COVID-related symptoms and/or is diagnosed with COVID, special cleaning procedures will follow CDC guidelines that will be implemented in the area that that individual occupied. We've also spent a lot of time thinking and talking about how can we plan to practice physical and social distancing. Every building will identify high traffic areas and apply signage to flooring and wall space to reinforce distancing. Every consideration will be given to identify one-way hallways as an additional mitigation strategy. Teachers will avoid activities that require the use of shared materials or shared spaces. If shared materials are necessary, they will be properly sanitized between uses. We will no longer have field trips or large group events. We want to try to reduce intermingling of students and staff, but every effort will be made to replace these experiences with virtual opportunities. When practical, students will be assigned to cohorts to limit exposure to others. Every effort will be made to limit the movement of these cohorts throughout the day. An example might be at the middle school where we would have the teachers rotating between classrooms and keeping the students in one particular room. Administrators and teachers will work together to reimagine and repurpose classroom spaces to maximize physical distance. At the high school level, we're having serious conversations about an open campus concept. So instead of having, 1,500 or 2,000 students in the hallways at one time, they have the opportunity to exit the building and use the sidewalks on the exterior of the building to get from one location to the next. And lastly, we will be implementing a face covering policy. All Brunswick employees will wear a mask at all times when in a district building or traveling through a building. All students in kindergarten through second grade must wear a face covering in common areas and hallways inside school buildings and when riding in school-provided transportation. It is strongly recommended that students in this grade band wear face coverings while seated in the classroom. There is a distinct possibility, should current health trends continue, that masks will be mandated in classrooms for this grade band as well. And we'll know more when we get closer to the beginning of the school year. As students in third grade through 12th grade, all students in third grade through 12th grade must wear a face covering while attending school or a school function in any school building, facility, or other area of the school campus, and when riding in school-provided transportation. Face covering expectations apply to students waiting outside school buildings before and after school, and to students waiting at bus stops. Administrators and teachers will collaborate to build mask breaks into school schedules. If there is a medical reason that prohibits a student from wearing a mask, an appeal process will be in place. The appeal procedures will be posted on our website by August 3rd. At this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Mr. Pat Geschke.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here to listen to this presentation. My name is Pat Geschke. I am the Director of Instruction and Innovation for the district. I invite you to submit any questions that you might still have after my presentation by clicking the link in the YouTube description box below this video. Obviously, COVID has been on everyone's mind, but we wanted to take a moment to step back and remind everyone of some changes that we're going to have next year. The school start times have changed because now that we have one middle school, we had some opportunities to change and make all the elementary schools start at the same time. So next year, the elementary schools will go from 8:55 to 3:25 for our students. Middle schools will go from 8:20 to 2:55. And our high school time will stay at 7:25 to 2:15. Also, we wanted to remind everyone with the delays in the construction project at the middle school where particular grades will be attending school to start the year. As a reminder, 6th grade will start at the new middle school. 7th grade will be at Edwards Middle School. 8th grade will be at Willits Middle School. Please note that middle school families will continue to receive updates about timelines regarding the middle school construction project. So this graphic outlines our return to school plan. As Mr. Mayel said, there are two potential choices, and these will be determined by what is most safe for our students and our staff. On the left-hand side in the gray, you see the face-to-face environment. If we start school where schools are open and students can return face-to-face, it's very important to notice that we will also be offering remote online learning for parents who prefer to keep students at home. So yes, we will be face-to-face, but we will also have this opportunity if you as a parent choose to have your student at home. If a student is participating in remote learning, there will be potentially two different offerings that they might be assigned with. That could be a Brunswick online curriculum where it's our teachers utilizing our curriculum online, or we're investigating a third-party curriculum that we might need as a district to purchase to potentially help with some scenarios. Additionally, we could start with remote learning, which would be all online, and this would be the remote learning would be if it's deemed unsafe that that students cannot return to school. So we would start the year online. Again, we would offer the Brunswick online curriculum or potentially the third-party curriculum. Should the district, in collaboration with our local health department, determine it is safe for students and staff to participate in face-to-face instruction, all students will return to school 5 days a week, beginning September 14th, 2020. Social distancing and other precautions will be put in place. Again, as we stated, it's very important to note that we will also be offering online remote learning for families who prefer to keep their students at home. It's also important to note that parents will need to commit to the remote online learning for an entire semester. In the face-to-face environment, building safety expectations and protocols will be implemented in order to streamline the student's schedule to minimize movement and to provide extended time for teachers to collaborate, conference, and plan. The district may decrease the student day by 35 to 40 minutes. We are awaiting guidance on the state to make this decision to ensure that we are meeting the minute expectation for the year, the hour expectation for the year. Once we have a decision or the guidance from the state, we will notify you of this. Not all courses will necessarily be offered due to a variety of factors, including enrollment numbers, staffing, etc. For example, we might not be able to offer some honors courses, AP courses, and some electives. These might not be available online. These might not be available face-to-face. Again, it depends on a variety of different factors. When we look to the face-to-face environment, as we said, there are two possible online formats: a Brunswick curriculum taught by Brunswick teachers and a third-party curriculum with Brunswick teachers acting as student advocates. For the Brunswick curriculum taught by Brunswick teachers, students would participate in a rigorous online program created by Brunswick teachers utilizing the Brunswick curriculum. The program would have a structured student schedule. Attendance will be taken daily. Teachers will instruct live using Google Meet, and traditional grading procedures such as our 90, 80, 70, 60 grading scale along with letter grades will be in place. The pass-fail option that we used last year in the spring for online learning will not be in place this year. For the third-party curriculum, with Brunswick teachers acting as student advocates, Brunswick teachers will reach out to students to help answer questions and troubleshoot problems that arise. They will also be giving students feedback. The program is self-paced with no live instruction. Assignments and assessments must be submitted in order to move through the curriculum. Traditional grading procedures will be in place in this environment as well. And this option, both options actually require a 1-semester commitment from the family, both online options. Another very important announcement is that families choosing any of our online options allow their students to remain enrolled in the Brunswick City Schools. Even though you are online, you are still a Brunswick student, and therefore you are eligible for opportunities presented to all Brunswick students. For example, available sports, available extracurricular activities, school counselors. If, though, your family decides that the best course of action for your student is to enroll in another online school, you must withdraw from the Brunswick City Schools, and you are not eligible for opportunities Brunswick students receive. As we said, both face-to-face and in an online environment, not all courses will necessarily be offered. The other option to start the school year would be completely remote online learning for all students. Should the district decide to start the year online for all students, and by this I mean the district has decided that this is the safest environment for our students and our staff, all students will participate in remote online learning for the first 5 weeks of the quarter, beginning September 14th, 2020. During this time, the district will monitor the health trends of our community to determine when a return to face-to-face instruction would be appropriate and safe. Our initial target date for return, should we start online, a return to face-to-face instruction is October 12th, 2020. The district will identify health trends to see if that start date needs to be extended or if we are good to go on October 12th. Again, it's important to note that the options could be limited in terms of what classes are available. Depending on the course enrollment and the course availability, we will have to determine which online environment would best fit the particular needs of the student. As we began to contemplate our online schedule, we took many things into consideration. First, best practice suggests not duplicating what is done in the traditional classroom in an online environment. The flipped classroom will be emphasized with our teachers in order to best utilize the teacher-student interaction time. Student, parent, and teacher feedback indicates a need for live instruction and less independent study. The feedback also indicates a need for a structured student schedule. The feedback indicates a need for a traditional grading scale where students will receive points for assignments and assessments, as well as receive letter grades. Again, the online learning will no longer be pass-fail. Finally, the feedback indicates a need to provide more of a rigorous online learning environment, and attendance will be monitored and tracked. We've created 4 unique schedules based on grade bands. On the screen right now, you see our K-3 online schedule. The first thing you should notice is that students will be placed in an AM group or a PM group. This was done to help limit the class size for our teachers, especially for our teachers of our youngest students, so that they can better instruct our young students, our kindergarten through third grade students. So what we'll see is on Monday and Tuesday, the AM group would start school at 9 o'clock online. From 9 to 9:10, there would be social emotional learning. From 9:10 to 9:30, there will be an English language arts whole group lesson, followed by 9:30 to 10:30, where we would have English language arts small groups. From 10:30 to 10:45 would be a math whole group lesson. 10:45 to 11:30 would be math small groups. On Wednesdays, a little bit of a change to the schedule. From 9 to 9:20, the AM group comes in or logs on for social emotional learning. And then from 9:20 to 10 o'clock, there will be targeted interventions for specific students. As we return on Thursday and Friday, you'll see the schedule duplicates what happened on Monday and Tuesday. A lunch is present from 11:30 to 12 for our students and our teachers. And then you'll see the PM group is basically the exact same as the AM group, except for different times. So on Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, the PM group meets from 12 to 12:10 for social emotional learning. The English language arts block goes from 12:10 to 1:30. And then the math block goes from 1:30 to 2:30. Again, these are on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. On Wednesday, you'll see that the PM group comes from 12 to 12:20 for social emotional learning, and then 12:20 to 1 o'clock, targeted interventions for specific students. There are important notes and considerations for the K-3 online schedule. As we said, students were broken into AM and PM groups to lessen the class size so that our K-3 teachers can be more effective in their instruction online. Please note that science and social studies will be embedded in the English language arts block. In this online environment, art, music, and physical education teachers will create a weekly lesson for all grade levels. The lesson will be assigned on the first day of the week and due on the last day of the week. Students will not receive live instruction in art, music, or physical education. Not all students will be required to attend the targeted intervention time on Wednesdays. Teachers will inform students who need to attend, and teachers will collaborate, plan, and conference before and after the student day. Additionally, K-3 teachers will have blocks of time on Wednesdays for additional collaboration, planning, and conferencing. A survey will be sent to all K-3 parents to indicate which time slot they prefer. In order to accommodate the needs of our families, students may be placed with teachers from other elementary schools in our district. If the structured student schedule does not work for a family, we will investigate other options, including third-party asynchronous curriculum for these families. Our grades 4 to 5 elementary online schedule looks a little bit different than K through 3. You'll notice that there are 3 blocks of instruction, Monday through Friday. The schedule remains the same every day. From 9 to 10:15 would be block 1, 10:20 to 11:35, block 2, so 75-minute blocks. 11:40 to 12:10 would be a lunch, and then block 3 would occur from 12:15 to 1:30. The blocks are set up so that we could have 30-minute live lessons and then 45 minutes for small groups, enrichment, interventions, projects, etc. Important notes and considerations for the 4-5 online schedule are that blocks will be in English language arts, math, and science and social studies will split a block. Social emotional learning will be embedded in the blocks daily. Art, music, and physical education teachers will create a weekly lesson for all grade levels. The lesson will be assigned on the first day of the week and due on the last day of the week. Students will not receive live instruction in art, music, or physical education. Our middle school schedule follows a typical bell schedule for a middle school student, except the classes have been decreased in time to 30-minute classes. So you'll notice, again, this schedule is consistent each day of the week. We begin with 9 to 9:30 for early bird. Early bird is for students enrolled in the World Language Program. First period begins for all students at 9:35, and as we said, they're 30 minutes long. Lunch occurs from 11:15 to 11:45. Ninth period ends at 1:25. From 125 to 145, we have social and emotional learning for our middle school students. And then 145 to 215 are interventions for select students. Again, important notes and considerations in this area. Only students who have registered for the Early Bird World Language Program would attend the early bird period, and not all students will be required to attend the daily intervention time. Teachers will inform students who need to attend. Our high school schedule is similar to the middle school schedule. It begins at 9 o'clock with first period. Again, they're 30-minute lessons, and then a 5-minute break before we begin second period from 9:35 to 10:05. Lunch for the high school will be at 11:55 to 12:25, and the day ends at 1:35 with 10th period. Important notes and considerations for the 9-12 online schedule. During the 4-5, 5-6, 6-7, and 7-8 periods, students should attend the core or support class for the entire time. For example, if a student has a core class, let's say health, and a study hall scheduled during those periods, the student should attend the health class for the entirety of the split periods. As we pointed out earlier, there is an expectation of a commitment by a family if we are in a face-to-face environment and the family chooses to have the student stay home and participate in online learning. The commitment for either the Brunswick curriculum or potentially the third-party curriculum would be 1 semester. Many districts across the state have been contemplating opening schools in a face-to-face environment, in a completely online environment, or in a hybrid environment. The hybrid option requires students to attend school face-to-face for a certain number of days in the week and also participate in online learning during the days a student is not physically in school. Some districts are also bringing half their students into school during the morning and then the second half of the students in the afternoon. After analyzing the feedback from parents, students, and teachers, the Brunswick City Schools has decided not to offer a hybrid option for the following reasons. First, we believe a hybrid environment would cause hardship for our families who need to access daycare for their children. If a family needs 3 days of daycare, many facilities charge the family for 5 days. We felt this was not fair to our families. Second, the district would have a very difficult time providing transportation in a hybrid environment. In fact, depending on the hybrid schedule, it might be impossible to provide transportation for our elementary and middle school students. And finally, in a hybrid environment, our teachers are required to provide face-to-face instruction as well as asynchronous instruction. Should a student need help at home with an assignment, the teacher would be unable to intervene because they are teaching a face-to-face class. The district felt strongly that asking our teachers to do both would lessen their instructional effectiveness. Instead, we want our teachers to focus on one instructional delivery model and be highly effective in that singular model. There have been many questions about testing as we move forward. As of this moment, state testing, students are still required to take all of the state mandated assessments. It's important to note that this mandate is out of our control. This is not a district decision. As of now, this is the state has said that students are still taking the assessments. The Brunswick City Schools also will utilize the MAP assessment for K-8 students to identify learning gaps. 9-12 teachers will use teacher-created assessments and analyze the data in teacher-based teams to identify learning gaps. Finally, teacher professional development, collaboration, conference, and planning is something that the district feels very strongly about. Although the student day is shortened in the online environment and could be shortened in a face-to-face environment, the teacher workday has not changed. As a district, we believe in our teachers, and we have created blocks of time for them to collaborate, conference, and plan. Our teachers are dedicated to our students, and we feel a strong responsibility to help them be successful and to support them. This dedicated time will provide them with opportunities to learn from each other and other experts so that they can deliver the educational experience our students deserve. And now I would like to turn the presentation over to Taya Newman, Director of Student Services.
Thank you, Mr. Geschke. Good evening, and thank you to everyone who is tuning in tonight. Again, my name is Taya Newman, and I am the Director of Student Services. Tonight, I will be talking about specialized student services programs, including special education. Brunswick prides itself on working collaboratively with our families and staff to make the best educational decisions for each student who receives services in any of our specialized programs. That being said, many individualized decisions are made based on individual need on a case-by-case basis. Please be aware that this portion of the presentation offers general guidance in 7 different areas related specifically to student services programs. If you have general questions still remaining at the conclusion of my presentation, please click on the link located in the YouTube description below. If your specific question was not addressed, please feel free to email me or call me so I can help address this question or concern related to your particular child's specific situation. This takes me to the first point. Communication and collaboration between home and school is key, fostering an educational partnership which ultimately increases student success. In the fall, in either platform, online or face-to-face, there will be an established structured schedule for all students to follow. All progress in all service areas in either platform will continue to be monitored and communicated to parents at least quarterly. Staff will work to be flexible with scheduling related services. In addition, in an effort to address concerns shared in the spring, we will offer parent training opportunities in the areas of student engagement and technology. With regard to services, whether students receive services in an online platform or face-to-face this fall, the goal is to continue to provide a free and appropriate public education for students based on individual needs outlined in the Individualized Education Plan. For students in a face-to-face environment, the following applies. Students assigned to attend general education classes for primary instruction will continue to attend those general education classes. Students assigned to attend co-taught classes for primary instruction will continue to attend co-taught classes supported in the classroom by both teachers. Students assigned to self-contained special education classes for primary instruction will continue to attend special education classes. In an effort to decrease contact and exposure, movement between self-contained special education classes and the general education classes will need to be considered and decided upon by the IEP team on a case-by-case basis. For related services such as speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, adapted physical education, vision, orientation and mobility, the service delivery model will be determined on a case-by-case basis by the IEP team. For students participating in online instruction, the following applies. Students assigned to attend general education classes for primary instruction will attend general education classes online. Students assigned to attend co-taught classes for primary instruction will attend co-taught classes online. This may include online breakout sessions with the intervention specialist to provide additional resources and interventions. Students assigned to self-contained special education classes for primary instruction will continue to receive core instruction in an online small group or online one-on-one session with parent consultation provided. Related services will be offered in online small groups or online one-on-one sessions with parent consultation provided. Please note that no educational services will be provided in home or in daycare environments through at least January 28th, 2021. Students assigned to home instruction will be offered services through an online consultative service option. Students receiving itinerant services through community daycare facilities will be offered services through an online consultative model. Students who currently receive educational accommodations through a 504 plan will continue to receive those accommodations in either platform, face-to-face or online. Student services meetings will be held either through Google Meet or through a conference call. All special education meetings will continue to be scheduled and held according to the federal compliance requirements. IEP meetings include initial IEPs scheduled to be held within 30 days of initial eligibility, IEP annual reviews scheduled to be held within 1 year of the start date of the active IEP, and IEP amendments as needed. ETR meetings include initial ETR meetings scheduled to be held within 60 days of parental consent, and ETR reevaluations scheduled to be held within 3 years of the start of the current ETR. Assessments required for services such as early entrance to kindergarten, Part C to Part B early intervention preschool, special education in 504 reevaluations and initial evaluations, English language assessments, and gifted assessments will all resume using a hybrid model. Generally speaking, portions of evaluations such as parent interview, student interview, teacher interview, and checklists will be completed in a non-face-to-face platform. Record review will be used where appropriate and as determined by the ETR planning team. Direct assessment will be offered in a one-to-one face-to-face platform using personal protective equipment and a plexiglass divider between the student and staff. Decisions on student observations will be based on the individual case and determined by the ETR team. Preschool students who receive special education services will be offered the same educational option as their school-age peers, meaning they can choose all online or all face-to-face. However, at this time, Brunswick will not be accepting typical peers into the Bright Beginnings preschool program for the 2020-2021 school year. All itinerant services will be provided virtually through Google Meet. Preschool meetings and assessments will follow the same procedure as discussed earlier in the presentation. English language learners. The in-person option will continue with small group or one-to-one intervention, along with collaboration with classroom teachers. The online option will continue with attendance in general education classes with support and breakout sessions with English language specialists. Meetings and assessments will follow the same procedure as discussed earlier in the presentation. Social emotional learning for all students is a priority for us in Brunswick. As you may have noted in Mr. Geschke's presentation, there are designated blocks set aside for social emotional learning. At the preschool and elementary level, we will continue with the second step curriculum for students pre-K through grade 5. This curriculum was introduced 2 years ago by classroom lessons provided by our school counselors. The goal of the program is to help students with learning and implementing general social skills. The program provides group lessons as well as follow-up activities to be implemented by teachers and/or parents. This year, we will begin implementation of the second step curriculum at the middle school level in an effort to continue the work done at the elementary level over the last 2 years. The high school will continue with Can Do You, an online program implemented during the 2019-2020 school year to address social emotional learning. This curriculum uses a hybrid model where students independently watch a video and then work in groups guided by high school staff to discuss the topic in the video. We will continue all school counselor supports for students K through 12, as well as our student and family support specialist service at all levels, including but not limited to one-on-one sessions and group sessions, both virtually or face-to-face. We will continue Ohio Guidestone services at all grade levels, including one-to-one sessions and group sessions, virtually or face-to-face. In addition, over the summer, we received grant funding through the ADAM Board for additional preventative services for the 2020-2021 school year. This will allow us to add resiliency groups in grades K to 12 through Ohio Guidestone counselors. We will also continue with consultation and support from our board-certified behavior analyst, registered behavior technicians, and PEP Assist staff as needed. Thank you for your time. I will now turn the presentation over to Mrs. Verhest, our Director of Technology, to discuss technology considerations.
Good evening. Tonight I will be talking about technology. If you have any questions after my presentation, please click on the link located in the YouTube description below to submit your question. We will answer as many questions as possible after all departments have presented their information. Technology is always important, but is especially important in the months to come. As a technology team, we will continue to provide outstanding support to keep our students and our staff connected. Our plan is to ensure that every student in grades kindergarten through 12th grade are assigned a Chromebook. Elementary building principals will provide details for device distribution for students in kindergarten through 3rd grade. If you have a student who is newly enrolled in Brunswick schools, please watch for device distribution information from building principals. We will be using a similar help ticket system that we used in the spring, as it worked very well. We will follow that same process with a few adjustments. We will provide a form that can be filled out by parents when the device is malfunctioning. After the form is submitted, an email will be sent to the parent with details for device drop-off. For obvious reasons, we are requiring that devices be cleaned with a damp cloth on the outer shell, keyboard, and screen. Lastly, we will ask that you place your device in a bag with your child's name and password. Speaking of malfunctioning devices, we are strongly encouraging you to participate in our Chromebook insurance program for $30. If you wish to participate, you will be able to purchase the insurance through My Schoolbucks portal. The insurance will cover 2 repairs or 1 destroyed device for the entire 2021 school year. Our most common repair is a broken screen. If your child needs 1 screen repair or replacement, your insurance has already paid itself off. Also, as you see, the cost to replace a Chromebook is $200, so please consider this investment. Lastly, we know that internet connections for some families can be a concern. We will continue to work with families to find resources for internet connectivity. Thank you for your time this evening, and at this time, I would like to introduce Mrs. Armentrout, our Director of Personnel.
Thank you, Mrs. Verhest. If you have any questions regarding operational considerations when I finish with my presentation, please submit them using the link below the YouTube video. All daily operations questions that were previously submitted have been analyzed and discussed to ensure student and staff safety when we return to a face-to-face learning environment. The most important point to make is that an in-person, face-to-face learning is going to look different than it has in the past. We need to change procedures to accomplish one of our fundamental beliefs, that is of student and staff safety is our top priority. To begin with, arrival and dismissal procedures will be created by building administrators for their specific building. These plans will be shared with all staff and families to accommodate physical distancing as students arrive to school and depart from school. Specific entrances and exits will be clearly marked to support social distancing. Designated areas will be marked for walkers, car riders, and bus riders as they arrive to school. They will be dismissed at staggered times to help keep our students spaced out. We are asking that parents do not get out of their cars, but simply drop their students off even from the first day of school. Lastly, we will dismiss 1 bus at a time to enter the building so students don't get backed up at the doors. Doors will be propped open and supervised at the beginning and the end of the day, so entering and exiting the building is a touchless process. Student movement will be limited in buildings to help students arrive to their classrooms safely. Hallways will be designated as one way as much as possible and will be marked as such. The high school is determining the possibility of allowing students to move between classes by using outdoor sidewalks in order to minimize the number of students using interior hallways. Again, doors will be propped open and supervised, so entering and exiting the building is a touchless process. Restrooms will be checked and cleaned frequently, so students have safe access as needed. The number of students in the restroom at a time will be limited to maximize the physical distance from other students. Teachers will assist with this by using an intentional system specific to their individual building. As previously stated, proper hallway signage will facilitate students as they walk to and from the restroom, and all students will sanitize their hands after using the restroom. Healthy student nutrition is an important part of student learning. Our student nutrition program will provide students with grab-and-go options for breakfast and lunch. We are highly recommending that parents utilize My School Bucks to add money to student lunch accounts to limit cash transactions. We will be expanding locations for breakfast and lunch to include, but not limited to, classrooms, gyms, and multipurpose rooms. It is encouraged that students bring a packed lunch from home. Lastly, we highly recommend all students and staff to bring a full water bottle from home each day, as water fountains will no longer be available for use. A reminder that applications for free and reduced breakfast and lunch programs will be available on our website for families to complete online. Recess will look different from what we are used to at the elementary level. The playground equipment will not be used to limit surfaces our students touch. Recess may be broken down into shorter segments to allow for mask breaks throughout the day while walking outside physically distant. Staff members and teachers will reinforce safety measures to our students during their recess time, including directions to not touch their eyes, mouth, and nose, and to remain physically distanced. Transportation to and from school has been given a lot of consideration. As a reminder, due to our financial situation, high school busing will not be provided during the 2020-2021 school year. The district is committed to providing transportation to all pre-K to 8th grade students who qualify. It is required that parents complete a self-health checklist vigilantly assessing for symptoms before their students go to the bus stop. At the bus stop, students must maintain 6 feet of physical distancing while waiting for the bus. All students and the bus driver will be wearing masks at all times on the bus. We will be transporting students 2 to a seat or less. Assigned seats on the bus will be required, and families will be sat together whenever possible. In the morning, students will be seated starting from the rear of the bus moving forward, and when dismissing, the students will be unloaded from the front of the bus moving towards the back. In the afternoon, students will be loaded from the back to the front based on when they get off the bus to prevent students from walking by each other. The bus drivers will utilize open windows and rooftop vents when practical to increase ventilation and airflow, and will have the accessory fans on high to increase air circulation. All buses will be cleaned regularly using proper cleaning methods. Parents who wish to transport their students are strongly encouraged to do so to limit the number of students on the bus. Right at School is our before and after school care program, and it is housed at each of our 7 elementary schools. At this time, we have not been able to determine if we can safely accommodate these programs in our building facilities. We will share this information with you as soon as we have it. We are now going to go back through the 5 specific topics and answer a few of the questions that have been submitted. Mr. Niedermeyer?
Thank you, Mrs. Armentrout. Like usual, our parents have exceeded expectations and have asked many questions. So I'm gonna do my best to answer a few of them. So here's a question. Please clarify the number of students that you anticipate will be in each classroom if you decide to open in a face-to-face environment. Last year, 2 of my daughters were in the elementary classrooms with over 20 students. My middle schooler said her smallest class had 17 students. That's a really good question. We have spent the last 9 weeks doing a study of every classroom space across our school district. We've been looking at square footage. We know that our classrooms range from 650 square feet to some classrooms are in excess of 1,200 square feet. So to give you a flat answer would be kind of a challenge because they're all different sizes. I guess what I would share with you though is that we fully intend to have our administration and teachers work together to strategically assess the classroom space. They will determine furniture configurations to maximize physical distancing of students. In every case, our goal will be 6 feet. And realistically, we know in some cases we're not going to be able to do that, but we're going to do everything that we can to try to meet that goal of 6 feet. I got another question here. Can face shields be used instead of masks if there are issues? According to the Center for Disease Control, it is not known if face shields provide any benefit as source control to protect others from the spray of respiratory particles. So the CDC does not recommend the use of face shields for normal everyday activities or as a substitute for masks. So while our policy says face coverings, we really mean that we want our students and staff to wear masks because they have proven to be the best protector against that respiratory particle spray. Another question here. So are the requirements going to change for allowance of time a child misses school? If they cannot come in anytime, if they cannot come in anytime they have a symptom. The Ohio Department of Education has not changed the requirements for attendance. However, our district will work with parents when illness becomes an issue. We will develop a plan to help your student on a case-by-case basis. And really, we have those protocols in place right now where we follow House Bill 410, but when push comes to shove, what we're really trying to do is make sure that we can reach every one of our students. Had a question here from a high school parent. Who is cleaning the high school classrooms between classes? If it is the teachers, who is watching social distance, watching to make sure social distancing is followed in the hallways between classes. Like I'd mentioned before, each classroom will be supplied with supplies, EPA approved cleaning equipment or supplies. In the event that a class change occurs, we will have students and staff before the end of that period clean those high touch surfaces, including desks. We're currently studying how we can do staggered class changes to limit the number of students in the hallway and to provide proper monitoring of students in that hallway. We're also looking at cohort movement, which basically means if there's a way that we can try to get cohorts of students that are taking light classes, we know that'll happen a lot at the freshman level and at the sophomore level where kids generally take the same types of core classes. I know Mr. Merrill is looking at how can we limit the movement of those students, keeping them in the same classroom, and then moving the teacher instead of moving the students. Another question, will there be extra custodians to help with the increased cleaning requirements? We're working with business services right now. They're working on a plan to identify what do these cleaning schedules look like across all of our buildings. If it's determined that additional custodial staffing is needed, we need to commit to that because we're going to come up with a plan that we can ensure that our environments are going to be clean. And if it takes adding hours for custodians, we're going to, fortunately, we're going to have to add those staff to make that happen. Next question. What happens if a student has a fever or sore throat during the day at school? The fever or sore throat may not be related to COVID, but to strep. What steps does the district take or ask the parents to take before the child can return to school? Typically, if you have strep, we don't want your child coming to school if they have strep. We will expect parents to work with our nursing staff and work with your child's pediatrician to properly diagnose whatever illness it is that your child has. If your pediatrician will be able to help determine whether a COVID test is necessary, and hopefully they'll be able to help you determine what that timeline for return would look like. Ultimately, if there's a COVID test, it's going to get reported to the Medina County Board of Health, and they're going to step in and definitely provide guidance for when your child would be allowed to return to school. Last question I'm going to answer. What will the district do for those who do not have access to a thermometer, or if parents are not available to screen younger children because they're at work? We're going to expect that parents purchase a thermometer and begin practicing the routine of administering the daily self-health assessment. If a parent is unable to perform that assessment due to already being at work, we're going to advise that the parent make sure that who's ever supervising the child in the morning is the one that performs the self health assessment before bringing them to school or getting them on the bus. So I wasn't able to answer every one of the questions that were posted, but at the end of this evening, you'll be directed to have the opportunity to ask more questions, and we are anticipating setting up a frequently asked question page for our website so that we can continue to address your concerns and feedback. I'm going to turn you over to Mr. Geschke to talk about educational consideration questions.
Thank you, Jason. Many of the questions regarding education centered on the online curriculum offerings. Will the Brunswick online curriculum be synchronous or asynchronous? So it would be, the Brunswick online curriculum would be synchronous, which means live instruction. Teachers would meet with students on Google Meet, and during that schedule, they would have live instruction. If we went to a third party, if we provided third parties in some scenarios, the third party would always be asynchronous, which would be self-directed. People were asking about the types of third-party curriculum we're looking at right now. We're investigating Lincoln Learning Solutions, Edgenuity, and Edmentum. There were a lot of questions about, is there a choice? Can I choose the Brunswick curriculum or can I choose the online curriculum? It will not be a choice. It's going to be a matter of circumstance more than anything. Ideally, our default is always going to be the Brunswick curriculum with our Brunswick teachers teaching our Brunswick students. Again, the third party situation will be investigated to help with unique situations. There was a question about the online schedule. Is it used in any scenario? And the answer is yes. If a student's online, that student will always be following the online schedule, not the face-to-face schedule. There was a question about AP classes, and it was, if students have AP classes that cannot be taught, can they change their schedule to add another class that is going to be taught? We're going to make every possible way we're going to try to fulfill and fill people's schedules. So if a particular AP class cannot be taught, our counselors, our principals will look to get the student into a class to help fill out the schedule. Absolutely. And then the last comment or last question I'm going to read, and the ones that we can't answer, we will, as Mr. Niedermeyer said, we'll put in a FAQ. It sounded like students of families who choose remote learning in the event of face-to-face instruction would still be permitted to participate in extracurricular activities. Is this the case? The answer is yes. If you choose our remote learning programs or even that third-party program, you're still enrolled as a Brunswick student. So you are able to participate in anything that the other Brunswick students are able to participate in. Again, even if the situation is where you have to take the asynchronous class offered by the third party, you still are a Brunswick student in that case, so you're eligible for that. I'm gonna pass it to Taya.
Thank you. We've got a few questions that came in. The first one I would like to address is, what is social emotional learning? Social emotional learning is the process through which children and adults acquire and effectively apply knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary to understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make reasonable and responsible decisions. Research demonstrates that students who receive support for social and emotional learning in schools do better academically, socially, and behaviorally. Social emotional learning has also been shown to positively impact economic mobility and mental health outcomes. Developing these skills in our students is an important part of meeting the needs of the whole child. This has also been a big part of our strategic plan that we put out, and so it has been an area of priority for us here in Brunswick. We had a few other questions come through that were pretty specific. So if you don't mind, if you did submit a question, please email me directly and I will discuss your specific situation with you privately. And if anybody has anything else, you can also feel free to email me about general questions. Thank you. Kathy? Mrs. Verhest?
Hello. There were a few questions in the area of technology that I can quickly answer. And the first question was, will all kindergarten students get a device? Yes, all the kindergarten students will get a device. Each elementary building principal will send out information to all the families in that building with details regarding device distribution, and that does include kindergarten students. The next question is, how often do students get new Chromebooks? We try to refresh Chromebooks every 4 to 5 years, but that being said, we refurbish and work on Chromebooks for the entire ownership. So Chromebooks are constantly updated through repairs. Will loaner Chromebooks be given at the time of drop-off to avoid a lengthy time without a computer? Absolutely, you will be given a loaner when you drop it off. Last year, we used curbside pickup. You dropped off your device and you were given a loaner immediately, and then you were contacted by our technology department to come pick up your original Chromebook. Will the first through third grade kids get new computers since they were given the classroom devices? We will be able, if you got a classroom device that is not functioning well, you will certainly be able to turn that in for a different Chromebook, and we will make sure that all kindergarten through second grade students get Chromebooks. Third grade students will be getting new Chromebooks at the beginning of the school year. And again, please watch for Chromebook distribution details from each building. And the last one was Chromebooks lagged and ran incredibly slow at home, even with high-speed internet. Sometimes we can fix that through certain hardware repairs. So please, if that happens, let us know by using the help ticket system. And next, I will pass the questions on to Mrs. Armentrout.
Thank you. I'm going to be working through the questions through operational considerations. The first question I have is, will the schools or buses have extra disposable masks for students if their masks are dirty or they do not have one to use during class? Our bus drivers will have a supply of masks, as well as the schools will, if a student comes without a mask. However, it is the expectation that students are providing their students with a mask on a daily basis. Another question that came in is, how will social distancing occur if class sizes are not reduced? We are currently working with custodial staff and administration to remove all unnecessary furniture and to use individual desks for our students to create physical distance between them and other students in the classroom. The third question I have here is, will there be plexiglass dividers in the classroom? We will utilize plexiglass dividers for situations where students and teachers are working on a one-on-one basis. Typical classrooms will be utilizing separating desks and students in a physical distance nature rather than the plexiglass. A good question was asked about, will students use lockers? I know there's concern in the elementary buildings that sometimes multiple students share lockers. Students will not be using lockers during this school year. We will be keeping supplies, or students will be keeping their supplies and belongings with them at their seat in a book bag. And my last question is, will the buses still go to daycares for pickup and drop off if the daycare is en route of the elementary school? Our transportation department will provide transportation for all students in grades pre-K through 8 who qualify for busing. As long as they qualify for busing, that will still be the case. Thank you. I'm going to turn over the last few questions to Mr. Mayo.
Thank you. First question, if the Medina Board of Health makes a recommendation to begin the year with remote learning, like the Cuyahoga Board of Health is making currently, would Brunswick begin this year with remote learning? My role as a superintendent is to make recommendations to the Board of Education, and then we would discuss the recommendations. There's been a long history in this district of the superintendent and the Board of Education having productive relationships and all being on the same page. So if the Medina County comes with that recommendation, I would support that, which is kind of a part of another one of the questions coming up, and you'll hear some more about that in my closing remarks. Another question, how far in advance will you decide how we are starting so teachers and families have time to prepare? That's real important to us to get that decision out as soon as possible. Once we get all the facts in and continue to monitor the situation we're in, we will make the decision as soon as possible, and you will hear from us immediately after that decision is made. Will this presentation be made available to reference at different times for people who did not have a chance to see it? Yes, it will be available through links on our webpage, so please look for that. And the last comment or the last question I'm going to answer will be, will the district take into account the severity level of the county red and purple when deciding on face-to-face versus online education? Absolutely. Those levels are put there to tell us what environment we're in and the spread level and things like that, and things of that nature. So they have to be taken into account. So where do we go from here? As I stated in my open remarks, this evening I will send an email with links to the plan and a link for further questions. We will also create a FAQ form, and we have received many questions this evening that are answered in our plan document, and if not, we will include the answers to that on the FAQ form. On August 3rd, 2020, a student commitment process will begin. Parents will be sent a form to indicate their commitment to either face-to-face instruction or remote online learning. The form must be completed by August 14th. We need a decision by August 14th so that we can create our schedule and staff assignments. One particular question was asked, if I have 2 children, could I have 1 child in online and 1 child face-to-face? The answer to that is absolutely. You make the decision that is best for each of your children, and we will support you and your child. September 14th, that will be the first day of school for students, regardless of how we open this school year. In conclusion, we are in constant contact with the Medina County Health Department, other school districts, our professional organizations, and state officials about our environment and how we will move forward. Earlier this week, the Franklin County Health Department strongly recommended that all local schools open all online. Cuyahoga County Health Department released the same statement this evening, with the addition that they also strongly recommend to discontinue extracurriculars during online learning, including sports. Medina County has recently been moved into the level 3 public emergency, which is a very high exposure and spread rate. In talking with our health director, I have been informed that the 44212 zip code is the largest concern in our county. If the current situation does not turn around soon, we will start all online. I want this to be very clear so that our families can prepare. If the current situation does not turn around soon, we will start all online. Again, the decision will be based on safety of our students and staff. However, we will continue to plan for all possible openings. I would like to thank each of you for your questions and feedbacks. We need to work through this environment together. We will not make decisions in isolation. Finally, I want to thank all of our staff members and parents who've helped us through this process. This has been a true team effort. Stay safe, wear a mask, wash your hands, and practice physical distances. Good night.